Have you ever felt paralyzed by the fear of not being good enough? Have you ever postponed an idea, a project, or even a conversation because you didn't feel ready? That quiet feeling of inadequacy is becoming more and more common. We live in a time of constant exposure where everything seems to be measured by appearance, performance, and results. In this world, perfection has become an invisible but heavy demand. We're always being pushed to be better, faster, more attractive, more productive. But no one ever asks if we're okay. Wanting to grow isn't the problem. The real problem is the belief that we must become some ideal version of ourselves before we're worthy of love, respect, or recognition. It's a standard no one actually reaches. And the cruelest part, even those who seem to get there find that the emptiness remains. Because perfection, in reality, is an illusion. A promise that never fulfills, a finish line that keeps moving further away. According to the Harvard Business Review, chronic perfectionism is directly linked to higher levels of anxiety, procrastination, and emotional burnout. People with these traits tend to put so much pressure on themselves that they'd rather not start than risk doing something wrong. But that decision has a price. Life stops happening. Time keeps moving, but nothing changes, no attempts, no risks, no truth. Psychologist Paul Hewitt from the University of British Columbia, a leading researcher on perfectionism, describes three main types: socially prescribed, self-imposed, and other-oriented. But regardless of the type, the result is the same: suffering. Perfectionism, rather than being a driver of excellence, becomes a trap. A prison disguised as ambition, and this prison has invisible bars: the constant comparison, the hunger for validation, the fear of appearing weak, flawed, or too human. Social media feeds this trap every day: filtered photos, idealized routines, effortless success. You look at those lives and feel like you're behind, like you're not enough. But the truth, no one posts the behind-the-scenes struggle. Only the polished highlights. This collective illusion quietly makes us sick, and perhaps its most damaging effect is what it does to our self-esteem. When you believe you must be perfect to be lovable, any mistake feels like a threat. When failure is unacceptable, living becomes unbearable. Shame takes over. Your inner voice becomes harsh, judgmental, and you begin to hide your true self just to feel safe. But there's something deeper still. Perfection alienates us from who we are. It forces us to abandon authenticity in pursuit of an ideal. We disconnect from our essence, from our story, from our natural rhythm. How many times have you held back because you felt unprepared? How many dreams have you shelved, waiting for the right moment? How many chances have you missed, needing everything to be just right? It's a cruel cycle, one that convinces you that who you are right now is not enough, that your current version isn't worthy of being seen, heard, or valued. But what if I told you there's another way? A philosophy of life that values exactly the opposite, that sees beauty in what is incomplete, worth in what is weathered, and power in what is imperfect. Before we go there, take a deep breath. Close your eyes if you want, and ask yourself this: where did this need for perfection come from? Maybe from childhood, where praise only came when you got things right. From school, where mistakes were punished. From work, where output matters more than well-being. The world shaped your lens, but you can choose to change it. It is possible to adopt a new perspective. It is possible to start again, but for that, you need courage. The courage to shed expectations, to accept that being incomplete isn't a flaw, it's part of the path. In Eastern cultures, imperfection is not discarded. It's welcomed, it's repaired with care. And it's precisely this attention that makes it more valuable. There's an old saying, it's not the flawless object that captivates, but the one that carries a story. That story can be yours, your struggles, your pauses, your missteps. They make you who you are. The journey we're beginning is about that. About putting down the burden of perfection. About reconnecting with the value of simplicity, honesty, and what's real. In the next chapter, you'll be introduced to the concept of Wabi-Sabi, a Japanese philosophy that can transform how you see yourself, how you act, and how you live. But before we go there, let one idea settle into your heart. You don't need to be perfect to be worthy. You are already enough, just as you are. Imagine a world where imperfection isn't a flaw, it's a feature, where aging is celebrated, where cracks are not hidden but highlighted with gold. This world exists, and in Japan it has a name, Wabi-Sabi. Wabi-Sabi is more than a concept. It's a lens, a worldview, a quiet revolution. Deeply rooted in Zen Buddhism, it offers a radical shift from the modern obsession with polish and perfection. Instead of chasing the flawless, it teaches us to embrace the real. Instead of control, it invites us into harmony. Instead of pretending permanence, it welcomes change. To understand Wabi-Sabi, we first need to understand its two parts, Wabi and Sabi. Wabi represents simplicity, humility, and the raw beauty of nature. It's the silence between notes, the quiet dignity of an empty room, the satisfaction of enough. Sabi, on the other hand, is about time, about the natural aging of things, the beauty that comes from weathering, from wear, from history. It's the luster of old wood, the elegance of faded fabric, the strength in a face marked by experience. When combined, Wabi and Sabi teach us that nothing is permanent, nothing is complete, and nothing is perfect. And that's exactly what makes things beautiful. This philosophy is most famously embodied in kintsugi, the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery with lacquer mixed with gold dust. The breaks aren't hidden, they're highlighted. The flaw becomes the focus, not as damage, but as a mark of resilience and story. Now imagine applying this same philosophy to yourself, to your mistakes, to your imperfections, to your unfinished dreams. What if, instead of hiding your cracks, you traced them in gold? Leonard Cohen, in his influential book Wabi-Sabi for Artists, Designers, Poets and Philosophers, describes this philosophy as the beauty of things imperfect, impermanent, and incomplete. It's the opposite of glamour. It's the poetry of things humble and real. In modern life, where every scroll shows you something shinier, newer, faster, Wabi-Sabi is a deep breath. It's a return to stillness, to enoughness, to wholeness, not through perfection, but through truth. In traditional Japanese aesthetics, Wabi-Sabi appears in architecture, design, pottery, tea ceremonies, even gardening. Rooms are intentionally asymmetrical. Materials are natural and raw. A stone path may be uneven, not because it's careless, but because it's alive. This isn't minimalism as a trend. It's minimalism as a philosophy. Not less for aesthetics' sake, less to make room for meaning. It's in the tea ceremony where this becomes most sacred. A ritual not focused on display or grandeur, but on presence. Every movement is deliberate, every object imperfect, every moment unrepeatable. Wabi-Sabi is the art of appreciating what's in front of you, exactly as it is. But let's be honest, this is not how most of us live. We want the flawless selfie, the perfect timing, the ideal conditions. We want to fix, correct, and control. Wabi-Sabi tells us, let go. Let go of the need to polish every word. Let go of the need to erase your past. Let go of the pressure to arrive, when arriving isn't the point. In this way, Wabi-Sabi becomes more than aesthetics. It becomes emotional, spiritual, transformational. Because when you truly accept imperfection in the world, you begin to accept it in yourself. You stop fighting your nature. You start seeing your flaws as features, as history, as art. This isn't about settling, it's about seeing. Not through the lens of lack, but through the lens of light. And this changes everything. Imagine waking up tomorrow without the need to impress. Imagine creating not to prove, but to express. Imagine being able to pause, breathe, and notice beauty in something you used to ignore, like a chipped cup or a quiet afternoon. This is Wabi-Sabi, and its effects go far beyond your inner world. Studies in mindfulness, psychology, and even productivity show that people who embrace imperfection are more resilient, more present, and more effective. Why? Because they don't waste energy on what can't be controlled. They move, they try, they adapt. Wabi-Sabi teaches us that beauty isn't always loud. Sometimes it's in the stillness, in the overlooked, in the faded and frayed. And perhaps the most radical thing about Wabi-Sabi is this: you don't have to change anything to be worthy. You just have to look differently. Look at your body, your home, your past, not with criticism, with compassion, because a life lived with Wabi-Sabi isn't a life without goals or effort. It's a life aligned with reality, with the flow, with truth. You can still strive, still build, still evolve, but now without shame, without self-punishment, without the illusion that everything must be flawless to matter. In the next chapter, we'll explore how Wabi-Sabi changes our relationship with self-esteem, with action, and with the way we show up in the world. But for now, let this settle. Nothing is missing from your life. What's here right now is already enough. So far, we've talked about the weight of perfection and the quiet, healing beauty of Wabi-Sabi. Now, let's bring it down to earth. Let's talk about how Wabi-Sabi can shape your self-esteem, your actions, and ultimately, your way of living. Let's begin with self-esteem. We've been taught that self-esteem comes from success, that it's something you earn when you look a certain way, achieve certain things, or meet other people's expectations. But that kind of self-worth is fragile. It depends on performance, and it disappears the moment you feel like you've failed. Real self-esteem, as psychologist Kristin Neff suggests, comes from self-compassion, from the ability to treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding you'd offer a close friend. It means you can fall short and still feel whole. It means your value doesn't evaporate when you mess up, because your worth was never based on being flawless. This is where Wabi-Sabi becomes a guide. It reminds us that beauty lies in authenticity, in the crack, in the curve, in the worn edges, in the parts of you that have lived and learned. You don't need to fake confidence to be confident. You don't need to fix yourself to feel enough. You need only to recognize the story you carry and honor it. When you adopt a Wabi-Sabi mindset, your inner critic starts to quiet down. The voice of shame gets softer. The urge to compare starts to fade, because you finally realize everyone is cracked, everyone is unfinished, everyone is still becoming. So you begin to shift. You stop beating yourself up. You start offering grace. You begin healing simply by being honest. And with that honesty comes something powerful: action. Because when you're no longer paralyzed by the pressure to be perfect, you're free to move, to begin, to try. Let's talk about productivity. How often do we say, I'll start when I feel ready. I'll launch when it's perfect. I'll speak up when I'm confident enough. But that moment rarely comes. And in waiting for perfect conditions, we let life slip by. John Acuff, author of Finish, Give Yourself the Gift of Done, discovered that perfectionism is one of the top reasons people abandon their goals. We'd rather delay than deliver something imperfect. We'd rather dream forever than risk real feedback. But what's the cost of that? Wabi-Sabi challenges this fear. It tells us nothing is ever finished. Nothing is ever flawless. So begin anyway. Create the imperfect draft. Share the half-shaped idea. Say what you mean even if your voice shakes. Move before the map is complete. Progress doesn't come from getting it right. It comes from showing up. Wabi-Sabi also invites us to slow down, to step back, to rest, because sometimes action isn't about doing more, it's about doing less, on purpose, focusing only on what matters, letting go of the noise. Greg McKeown, in his book Essentialism, reminds us, if everything is important, nothing is. Wabi-Sabi echoes this by helping us prioritize peace over polish, presence over performance, essence over excess. It teaches us to work with our natural rhythms, to understand that energy flows in seasons. That effort doesn't have to be constant to be meaningful. When you embrace imperfection, you become more consistent because you stop judging your output against an unrealistic standard. You build momentum, you build confidence, you build a life that actually fits you. But perhaps the greatest gift of Wabi-Sabi is this: you learn to love the process. Instead of racing to the result, you begin to enjoy the path. You see the beauty in the detour. You appreciate the lesson in the mistake. You value the pause between two milestones. And when this becomes your normal, you begin to live differently. You stop rushing. You stop pretending. You stop needing everything to be under control. You find joy in the messy middle. You find strength in vulnerability. You find wholeness in your own unfinished story. Living with Wabi-Sabi is living with open hands. It's holding space for change. It's seeing every crack, not as failure, but as evidence that you're alive. It's choosing to be human in a world obsessed with perfection, and in doing so, becoming more powerful than ever. Because now, your energy isn't wasted on hiding. Your mind isn't occupied with fixing. Your heart isn't frozen by fear. You're free to love, free to create, free to move forward. So what does this look like in everyday life? It means not hiding behind filters, digital or emotional. It means being honest about what you need. It means resting when you're tired, not when you've earned it. It means creating without guarantees. It means loving people without trying to change them. It means forgiving yourself for the things you didn't know back then. It means letting the light come through the cracks, because those cracks, those flaws, those breaks are where the gold is. So as we close this journey, remember this: you are not a problem to be solved. You are a person to be loved. You are not behind. You are unfolding. You are not incomplete. You are in progress, exactly as you should be. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait for perfect. Show up with what you have. Start from where you are. Trust that your truth is more powerful than your polish. The world doesn't need your perfection. It needs your presence. Wabi-Sabi isn't just a philosophy. It's a practice, a posture, a way of being. And now it's yours to live. Nothing is ever truly finished. Nothing is ever truly flawless. And nothing, absolutely nothing, is missing.